Yep, the turnovers looked as bad on film as they did in person, so everybody knows. We really talked about it with our team. We're just going to work on it. We're just going to get better. There's a lot of other things that we thought we did very, very well on. What we wanted to do a better job of, we did. We think we can shore up a few things like, getting Gabe and Max a little deeper in the corners, keep the court spread a little bit more. Those are the things we're really working on right now to try to improve, along with taking care of the ball. You take care of it. We can make that 10, 11. It's going to be worth 10 points a game, I bet.
When you look at practice film, do you notice players stepping out of bounds then? Do you look at it closer today, or what do you do about that?
Well, we didn't practice today. We watched a lot of film, and we walked through their stuff. I think we're still a little tired from the trip. I really do. I mean, it's a problem when you play in one of those. I'm hearing a lot of coaches saying the same thing. So, but over the last month, I don't see a lot of that. We really don't. We talked about it. We do see some of the turnovers, though. So I don't see as much of the stepping out of bounds stuff. I mean, if you looked at it, it was just such a casual by everybody, a lot of different guys. So we'll clean that up somehow.
Do you have a breakdown of forced and unforced?
We felt last night that almost 12 or 13 of them were unforced completely. I mean, we gave maybes to a couple. Like, remember when Julius turned around and he just slapped it out of his hand? Well, you should give that to the defense, but who the hell should let that ball go? So we kind of blamed us on that too. And but we do have, we're having over 2/3 of ours in our minds are unforced, which is borderline ridiculous.
How do you see them taking it? I mean, are they just a priority for them, you feel like?
I think it is, but when I said that there's a couple guys in the team averaging 3 turnovers a game, and there's some teams in the top 10 that are averaging 7, 6, and 8 turnovers a game, 2 guys are doing as many as a whole team. I think that hit home a little bit. It is going to be a sore spot for me. I think it's going to be a sore spot for them. I don't think they're doing it on purpose, and I don't think they just got their heads in the clouds and are not performing. I mean, we've had some weird ones too, like a couple of screening ones, nothing against anybody else. We've done enough to damage ourselves, and that's what we got to control.
I think the game said that same travel on transition.
He's for a left-handed kid, he kind of starts it with his right foot, and he creates some problems in there for himself, and a little hard to correct right now, but what we're going to do is we just told him he's got to slow down on it, and if he doesn't slow down, we're not going to go to it as much, and that's kind of the way we got to do it. I mean, there's going to be some guys are going to get it one way or another.
You put that drive that he had for the dunk on Luke for him, because that's what you wanted him to do.
Yes, sweep and go, right? And that's where we're having little problems, when you don't get to practice much, like when we go to the Bahamas. We felt like there was a lot of slippage, and when we do drive, is the guy in the corner. If the guy's not in the corner, now you have no release valve to get it to him, and you turn it over. You try to kick it in instead of out. We did feel that we shot better from the 3 because we had a lot more kick-outs last night. Inside-out passes. Guards penetrating, kicking out. Tyson did a great job with his 10 assists, and could have had a couple more, What you'd like, that's missing a little bit. If Draymond was on the bench and he was one short of a double-double, it would have been my life in my own hands not to make sure he gets that, especially if you're up 15. Markey had a chance 3 times to get it, and it's just like, he's got to get a little more hungry, especially since the Big Ten keeps that double-double stat, That's what I'm looking for.
Sorry, some of your great teams have been fast as heck in February, March, January, but they've gone through turnovers fast early. So this is not. So where does this line up with some of those past experiences?
It's not, but we have 2 new point guards. That's one thing, and we did have some issues, but I'm not sure it was 19, 18. 2 losses and a win, 19 turnovers. That's you know, that's beyond acceptable. Good word. That's beyond acceptable. You know, if a bad one was 15, you know, but boy, when you have 3-4 of them that have been 19 or 120, I think, unacceptable.
Is it easier to fix the self-created ones, do you think? Or?
I think so. I think some of that's focus. I think some of it's, you know, you get a lead. I mean, somebody said it last night. I think they're really true about it. You know, we go on a 16 or 18 to 4 run. What was it? I don't know. You guys, 20 to 4 run, and we look like a real team. And then when we turn it over, it kind of comes in threes. You know, seems like we have 2 or 3 in a row, and then a bad shot or a foul for no reasons. You know, so they're clumpings of things, and some of it is probably we're playing. You know, more people. We're trying to figure out who should be in there. Like Marty didn't get much time. He did a hell of a job for what he did in there. And so I think that's part of it too. And everybody talks about that. You know, as your year goes on, you shrink your playing group a little bit. You hate the shrinking in November. Now as it gets to be December, you know, it'll probably start shrinking a little bit more. And yet we added one in Pierre, but he's played pretty well. You know. So as soon as I say you can't do it, that's the difference with Purdue and everybody else in the country, if you ask me. Now Purdue's, every one of them is a veteran, so that makes a difference too.
When you look back defensively, did you feel as good last night
I did.
or even better?
I did. I felt like we really played well defensively. They hit those 3 threes late, where they would have shot 22% from the 3 and 35% from the field. I mean, that's phenomenal against good teams. Way below their percentages coming in. When you hold leading scorers to 0 points, you know, that was an objective and a goal, and that was a hell of a time too. Didn't think we rebounded quite as good. Still got to get more rebounds out of our wings, you know. And like Max now, he's got to get back in there rebounding. Gabe's got to get back in there. The consistency is what I'd like to see improvement on our team. But what are we? 7 games, 8 games in? 8 games in, you know, we hope it starts to come around, but if you look around the country, a lot of people, which is what I told everybody at the beginning of the year, it's going to be a different year this year in a lot of ways. Some of it was coming back from COVID, some of it's the transfer rules, some of it's just kids and where they're at mentally, I think is 3 big issues.
You looked at the turnover. Sometimes with young teams, it's valuing possessions, right? But it doesn't seem necessarily to be that. Does it get? Is there a point where they're almost so worried about it, it's detrimental?
You know what? It's funny because, you know, that's what parents would say. Parents would say that because they got to have somebody to blame, as Magic Johnson said the other day. But, you know, there is a responsibility when you play in a program like this. And so if they are getting nervous about it, they should be. If it is hindering, like I think the most famous line that I've heard for 30 years is, "You're taking my game away. Only if you take it away. If you force me to take it away, I'll take it away." You know, if Gabe can't keep his feet straight, yes, we're not going to give him the ball as often there. So, you know, I don't believe that they're overthinking it. I mean, some of those are so here, want the ball? Let me give it to you, you know. Stepping out of bounds, is that overthinking? I think that's underthinking. You know, they've got to be more aware of what they are, stay more focused on what the job is, and understand that turnovers is an issue for us. But I think so many have been, as I said before you got here, so I'll tell you, so many are of the ridiculous nature. I'm thinking seriously, 2/3 of them are. And so if you average 16, 17, and you got 11 or 12 that, you know, you're always going to have a couple that way. But God, that's just too many. Now, what didn't happen the other night compared to Kansas and Butler, we didn't give them up for touchdowns. There were a lot of dead ball ones. You know, a foul for no reason. An illegal screen, a stepping out of bounds. You know, those kind of things are bad turnovers, but because our defense has been so good, at least it gives us a chance. The problem is getting 50 shots. We want to get 65. We got 49 last night. That's what the problems are.
One of the things that AJ said, and I think that his was one that went the other way on that one where it played Louisville. But he said, I thought it was kind of maturing a little bit. Maturing a little bit, where it's like you gotta eliminate the pizzazz and home run plays and work on more of the simple.
If he said that, I'd kiss him. But when you're looking over there and throwing over here and trying to be magic, you end up tragic, And that's a very good point he's made. And we talk about that a lot. Go for singles, go for singles, go for singles. And that's why I think if we can get in there and kick out, we got enough shooters. We really do. Might not seem like it, although at times last night it looked a little better. But I'm spending the whole time talking about this, and believe me, there were a lot of positives about last night. And that was not a bad team. That was a good team that one game they got upset at home. They beat some decent people, and I thought they had good talent. We closed the water off on a couple of those guys, and we did execute some things very well. It's just that turnovers are depressing too, for the coach, for the players, for the fans, for the media. I mean, you come away, let's say he doesn't hit those 3 threes and we win by 20. There's not one guy in this room that would have bet we would have won by 20, is there? Anybody? You do your predictor still?
Yeah, I do by 4, yeah.
By 4, okay. Yeah. So that was probably pretty good, believe it or not. So there's not one of us, but we still wouldn't have felt good. So if he doesn't hit those 3 shots, we still wouldn't have felt good. I wouldn't have felt good. Because I know that I'm playing for the big picture too, in the big picture, against great teams, or teams that you're going to play. What happened to them last night? I don't know. He was probably upset with them too. They had 16 turnovers. We're not a pressing team. So.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
And when you play great teams, big picture, you're going to need some perimeter defense. And last night you gave a great assignment to a freshman. What did you learn?
I swear that was the underlying part of the whole thing that probably didn't get looked upon as much. Max's defense on that kid was phenomenal. I mean, as good as anybody I've had in a while. Gary Harris-like. And so that was a big plus, big plus. I think Julius is making big strides in there. He's making big strides. Markey, it's the consistency,
Chris Mack said, he said the defense, you guys made them feel it. Is that something, as you guys form identity, that's starting to
Well, yeah,
take
because
hold
last year was the most embarrassing year of my career here. We gave up 42-8 or 40, whatever it was, and I started that this summer, that we're not going to do that again. We might lose every game, but we're not going to do that again. And both our 3-point and our overall has been a lot better, even in the games. I look at 2 teams that shot 48.9% against us, but they were because of the turnovers, Baylor and Kansas. And so, that part of it, the actual half-court defense, and our transition defense has been pretty good when we can defend it. Can't defend
These guys set them cohesively like that.
That's right. And shouldn't you expect that to be more consistent now that where I'm wrong, not with 3 freshmen playing on the perimeter and 2 guards that really hadn't played much in that position? Yeah, then it's a little harder. Those point guards still make a big difference, as we know.
Forgive me if you got this earlier, but what do you know about Toledo?
I know that, I've known Todd forever. We almost hired him here as a GA. He runs a lot of good stuff. Monty is he's scouted him. He's very impressed with him. They got all guys that can shoot it. They don't have a lot of depth, but the 5 guys that play are all averaging in double figures, or close to it. They got bigs that can shoot it, create some problem. They got 4 men who can drive it. They got a real good player out of Detroit that is averaging 22 a game. We haven't had many of those yet that have averaged that kind of numbers. So it'll be good to see if we can lock down a little bit better now on a guy like the kid from Kansas. Did we learn a lesson that day that we didn't guard him with a fishnet, so we're going to guard a little better? I hope so.
Anything else, guys?
Appreciate it.
now that the phones are off, what